Up next, we have Miss Teressa Siu from Hong Kong. She's an international wellness speaker, TV host, and mental health educator who is inspired to inspire her audience to be well, happy, and successful. An experienced educator of journalism, communication, media, health, and wellness, Teressa is a qualified yoga teacher, integrative nutrition, and health coach and Reiki practitioner. Her mission on health and wellness takes her around the world. We are very happy to have you on our board of panelists today. Teressa. Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Always live, right? Thank you. And it's been very interesting listening to all of you and having you share your experiences in your country. So now that you've seen me live and Zoom there, can I just go ahead and do my share screen?
Yeah. Yes.
Just have I do need you to give me a share screen, please.
Yes, what?
Yeah. I got it. Oh, still not on yet. Not able to share.
Is that happening?
Nope. But you know what? It's okay. I think why don't we just keep going?
Yeah.
Hang on. Let's try one more time. I don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. No, it's not happening. So are you giving multiple? Okay. You know what? I could just talk, although I did spend some time on a PowerPoint. Never mind. So the case in Hong Kong here, I think the message is pretty much universal with what you have shared and around the world. Children here in Hong Kong, and I think Hong Kong overall, we've had a very unique and exceptional, honestly blessed situation. So overall, the cases of the pandemic, I mean, we barely had any compared to the rest of the world. And, children here have been able to go to school, although there were a lot of closures. But I think one thing that we don't share with the rest of the world is inconsistency with schools. And also at the same time am I seeing a message here? Okay, I could try the option. Okay, sure. Okay, there you go. All right, here we go again. And I don't have sound, so it should be okay. So can you guys share all right? Should I do a full screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, love these health shows. So I think I like to say, let me speak about the reality for the kids here under the mask, the reality that they deal with. So because I was saying earlier, we have a unique case where we had all the freedom we needed and we are able to move around. Everything is working. So we are different in the sense that we haven't really had a lockdown. Although the inconsistency comes from having to be very extra precautious. We wear our masks, we do our alcohol wipes, we do everything, on public transportation is being clean 24/7. Now, the thing with the kids that have to deal with is the inconsistency with the school closures. Now, Hong Kong is also unique in a sense. I don't know how many of you have been to Hong Kong or familiar with the Hong Kong situations here. In the initial months, we've had, work from home because we didn't know what was going to happen. And then the schools weren't sure that they were going to close, and then we did close. So we had the same situation like the rest of the world was. Moms, dads, all of a sudden working from home, and all the kids are having to do online schooling. But everything was happening at a very small space for most families. So as you know, some Hong Kong families share a space of 200 some square foot, 300 square foot, and if you're lucky, you have 700 square foot. But if you're from more middle class or affluent families, you may have bigger homes. But yet still, the messages that I was, consistently getting either from my clients or, schools or the kids were giving me a bit of feedback was that they were starting to feel really cramped over time. And that didn't take a long time because the space here is just so limited. Now, I was saying earlier, we are blessed in the sense that we have our freedom. We never really had a lockdown. We were able to go out in public. We were able to go buy food with all the extra precautions in place. Now, what our children had to face, as I said, was the school closures okay, well, let's close for a bit and then let's see how the cases go. And then when the cases drop, we're like, okay, well, let's go back to school again. Now, 4 waves later of COVID, our schools are now in 3/4. That makes sense. So 3/4 of operation, so not full operation. And then slowly, hopefully, we'll edge into full opening, right? Everybody goes back to school. Now, the universities are hybrid situations. So teachers like me are having to be in the class, inside a classroom, and the students have that option. But still, yet is that inconsistency and the uncertainty, like what is going to happen next, and what is the government going to say, and what is the next measure that the government is going to take. And the overall situation here is that people feel that the government is actually being extra precautious, but that those extra precautions are keeping us healthy. Yet at the same time, children are having to wonder, and the parents are also having to wonder, the ups and downs. How do we deal with this? And in terms of the mental health, I've personally had students tell me that they have no idea what's going on. They don't know what the virus means. And within the space constraints of their homes, they're not sure what's happening. And one of my students told me, teenage clients actually said she felt, quote unquote, that the world was falling apart. And stress and anxiety, I don't know, we actually had suicide cases directly linked to COVID, but that was already happening before COVID. Stress levels, really escalating. We do have cases of, increasing with mental health reports, concerns in both parents and teachers and school children. Now, with studying itself, the kids have really lost out a lot in the past year because of, again, the inconsistency. So are we going in person? Are we doing face-to-face? And are we back online again? And the teachers are having to constantly adjust that. And the curriculum obviously has really not been inconsistent. And the kids are not sure what they're learning. So they have, quote unquote, really lost out in the academic wise. So in some ways they are behind. So, they're having to be worried about what to do and how to catch up. Now, at the same time, Hong Kong is very heavy in terms of exams. And we are very heavy in terms of kids, learning and earning academically. So parents get concerned and kids are concerned. We do multi-language schooling here in many schools, and the kids again are losing out in the language capability and having a hard time having to catch up with the mathematics and every assignments or every subject that they have. They're really not sure what's going to be happening, on the next level. Now at home, then what? The parents get the same questions as all of you, I'm sure you've been speaking of, is how to keep the kids sane at the same time happy and yet learning and growing. And that's been a question that's been asked for me to answer a lot of the times. And I've said to parents, the thing that you could do is really, here it is, the next slide is, I'm almost forgetting that because I'm so in tune with the situation here. Every home needs to really assert and insert more love or inject more love and not so much fear. And I spoke a lot about that with a lot of clients here, with a lot of schools and the teachers and the principals here, because I think the common understanding is that there isn't really anything that we could do about the situation except go with the flow. And that's so easier said than done to most people. But I think we could do as individuals and teachers, educators, and parents is that we could actually start out with ourselves, and the energy that we put, in every situation, that we bring into every situation and every circumstance is how we will affect the rest of the people. And it became especially important when I was dealing with my, teenage clients and tweens and even children, was having that element of having them be aware of their own mental health without telling them that, look, it's not okay, that you're stressed. It's not okay that you're having emotions, but actually we need to do the opposite, is to encourage that, is by bonding with them, by spending a lot of time with them. And as some of you mentioned, parents in Hong Kong, the same thing. They've never had to spend so much time with their kids because here in Hong Kong, we have a helper system, right? you know, most parents are working parents, and, you know, their helpers spend all their time with the kids while they're at work. And all of a sudden COVID happened, and everyone, like I said, is in close quarters. And oh my goodness, moms and dads are having to be the helpers and everything all at the same time. And this was a case that I heard in India and Bangladesh as well when I spoke to clients, all around this COVID situation. So what can we do? Mine our own energy, right? But yet at the same time, we could teach our kids the same things, which is I've been saying for all clients of all ages, you know, what can you do? So one of the things that I actually advocate a lot, and I teach kids and all the parents different things, is, look, firstly, let's have a wellness element and an individual well-being awareness within our family and within our, you know, schools or what organizations or whatever. And that's so important. Now the key with everything, all the uncertainty and inconsistency, and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, many of us could be easily seated in that fear, in that space of fear. But we don't need to. As I said in the previous slide, is that we could actually ground ourselves in the truth. The truth is that this is what's happening. It's a shared experience globally, and it is an experience that we all don't know what's going to happen next, and yet we could deal with it better. Okay, now that we've, in Hong Kong it's been over a year, in many places it's close to a year. We know we have the tools, and it is so important that we inject and we use those tools within ourselves and within everybody else. So the key is to get our kids, firstly, we hope we could remove our mask, but we know it's not going to be soon. But behind the mask or underneath the mask, we want to make sure that they are truly well and that they're truly happy, like the kids in the corner there, and that we want to make sure that, that they're doing well, even the circumstances are not as well and normal as they'd like to be. In Hong Kong, kids have been very blessed. We're okay as long as we wear a mask. We get to go out in the public, we get to eat at restaurants, we get to go play at parks. And at one point, it was, again, not consistent either because those places were closed. So ups and downs, and the kids are having to adjust that. But then the bigger question is, how can we help them do that? So one is a positive mindset. Two is love, spend a lot of time with them and really treasure that time. It may never ever come again. And I think when we spend the time with them together is to get creative. And also I made a whole list here, give them responsibility. And I think a lot of parents and teachers tend to take over that whole obligation thing, like, oh my God, I need to make the entire family happy and I need to do everything. And I've said this many times to many clients around the world, it is never possible. And I've done this myself. No good. And the most effective way to keep everybody well and mentally sane and the family to be as functional as possible in good times and bad times, it's always to think that everyone has the right tools. So one of the things I would encourage most of you, if you could share, and I'm sure you know that as well, is what if you sit down with your kid as a family, or if you were a teacher now going back to the class or doing Zoom classes, which I do both. What I do is, sit my students down. Hey guys, girls, let's close your eyes, plant your feet on the ground. And, if you want, place your hands over your heart. And all I want you to do is just sit there, ground, be quiet, and just listen to your breath. And all I need you to do is just to listen to your breath. And you guys could do this as I speak as well. And, and just take a moment there and to count your blessings. Everything that you have right now, you can be grateful for. And just imagine how long that list could be. 1 minute, magic. Everybody's face completely changes. It doesn't matter what age you are, what situation you're in, you immediately feel so much better. I mean, how often do we do this? Is to take time to tune in and to just listen to your breath. Most of us don't even notice that we actually need to breathe. Isn't that amazing? Now, another tool that I always tell people to do, food is so important. And I mentioned energy, right? Our individual energy. So imagine every one of us take time to have some quiet time to ground, and that energy would amplify with our families and with our kids and with our students and with our colleagues. And those are so important. And same thing, if we did this at every you know, at every school, at every corporation, we bring all that back home to our family. Same thing would happen, right? Positive mindset, positive energy, breathing, meditation, good sleep, all those are important, but have that wellness element in place and know that when you could, everybody could take that responsibility and share that responsibility, the goodness is goes. One of my niche things is about eating right. Good food, you know, not junk food. This is, you know, COVID has been such a great time for all of us to look into our nutrition. Some of you mentioned that earlier, but what is really good nutrition? And I'm an advocate of whole plant-based rainbow foods. You know, if you see my photos there, I always choose very colorful, you know, colorful photos. And imagine if everybody's mind was this beautiful and full of positive thoughts. What is that? What is all that doing to ourselves and to our kids? And what, you know, we tell them that, and if they have all of that, and imagine if we feed them whole plant-based foods, less junk food, less refined carbohydrates, less refined sugar, good fats, good oil, right? You know, good vitamins like B complex, which is good for neural function and de-stressing, you know, and fresh pumpkin soups and carrot soups. And you know what? I talk about giving them responsibility earlier. What if you had them cook for you? And kids love to cook. You know, last year I had a 3-year-old. I went to their homes. I had a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old. You know, they made Chinese dumplings. They made yogurt bowls. So I do integrative nutrition. So they all loved it. And you know what? I did meditation with them. I said, go choose a plant in your garden, because the family had a very nice patio garden, which is a luxury in Hong Kong. And they all did it, you know, they picked out a plant and they just stood there, and I said, close your eyes and smell the plant, smell the flower, and feel why you chose this plant, and they meditated. And then, you know what, they cook all their food and they ate it and they really loved it. And then they did yoga and then they did art. So the idea here is, guys, get creative. I mean, COVID has provided all this opportunity for us to get creative, get everybody to be responsible, and really look into everybody's well-being. And you know, someone mentioned earlier is, I mean, did you even ask them how they're doing? Kids need to be heard. Our families need to be heard, which I've seen in Hong Kong sometimes culturally for some families it's been actually challenging, because coming out to say, look, I actually feel frustrated, you know, and I was brought up that way. I mean, I grew up in America, but I was brought up that way in a very traditional Chinese family where, you know, it's an embarrassment to say something's not right with us. But there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what I teach people around the world now. Look, if you're overwhelmed, say you're overwhelmed. And please teach your kids that. Whether you're a teacher or a parent, you know what? It is okay. And I am constantly encouraging my students to do the same. I don't care what age they are. I don't care how old they are, really. Look, if something is not right, come forth and let's have a chat. And you know, here in Hong Kong, we have a campaign called Shall We Talk, and it's led by one of the ambassadors, actually one of our celebrity singers, Eason Chan, and he's very phenomenal. He's, you know, he's a very spiritual person, and he's done a lot of talks with communities all over, and that's so important. This is why the government came out with this campaign, is because we do see this need, even within the schools. You know, school children are fearful and apprehensive and hesitant about coming forth about their own emotions. And I think going forward, the world around, that's what we need, is really a lot of listening skills, being there, a lot of love, injecting a lot of great energy, positive thinking, and have that well-being and wellness system in place so that everyone could take responsibility and we could all ride the wave together. And hopefully this is going to be over with like tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope I brought some insights to this conference.